to the debut show of Q the Woodshed with the Spartan brothers, Brian and Ken. We're lifelong Michigan State football fans, and we just want to give you our perspective on the upcoming football season and beyond. We're not football aficionados. We just love the game. We just watch all of the games like everybody else. But we just want to give you our perspective as lifelong MSU football fans. So we're going to get right into it here. Recruiting, that's definitely a hot spot for any college football fan, for their prospective programs here. The recruiting, what's going on, So, Brian,
yes,
what are your thoughts on the recruiting for our beloved Michigan State football program, sir?
I'm glad that we kind of pushed this off a couple of weeks before we were going to do it, because I think we're going to do our first episode right after the spring game.
Right.
And recruiting wouldn't have been a hot topic. I want to say we only had 3 recruits at that moment after the spring game, and then we had some transfers out. You have the articles written, Spartan Exodus, they ripped the program off. June comes along, and I think we've got, as of today, will be 10 recruits from the 3, so 7 in the month of June, which is a big theme because, like I said, recruiting is the lifeblood of any football program.
It's interesting, too, because when it was announced that Thorne and Keon Coleman were transferring, it seemed like the world was just doomed, falling down. The program was just going to be in the tank. But it really seems like Mel Tucker's picked things up, as the end of June came. But definitely there was a doom and gloom aspect, I think, even amongst the Spartan fan base about Thorne leaving, Peyton Thorne, that is, of course, for those who don't know. And then Keon Coleman, he was the big-time receiver for us last year. But like I said, it does seem like things have picked up.
Yes, it sucks those guys left. I wouldn't say I was the biggest Thorne fan, but I believe he was an above-average quarterback, and Keon Coleman would look to have a big season coming up. But I think it shocks Spartan fans a lot because we're not used to having people leave the program.
Right.
And it happens to everybody. It's just the new landscape of college football with NIL, the transfers, the portal, all of it. And it came as a shock because both guys entered like the last day of the transfer portal window at that time. And so I can understand the doom and gloom, but if you lose 2 players and your program is dead, you didn't have a program to begin with. And so I think Spartan fans have kind of got their mind right, and we're starting to right this ship. We have good news again. We're coming off of not a great season, a lot of question marks, but definitely the recruiting has uptick, and there's a lot of, it's starting to build a little momentum in Spartan Nation, so it's good to see.
Yes. And not to mention, too, it seemed like Mel Tucker really, went back into, to the woodshed, I guess I would say, in terms of the lab, really, revamping his recruiting department because, a lot of key people on his staff actually left, too. It wasn't just those notable names, on the field that left. There were some of his staff that left too. But it looked like Tucker really just got into the nuts and bolts, revamped the recruiting department. And I think it helped out too in terms of some of the, the players that he picked up, at the end of the month going until July. So looks like recruiting is on the up and up. And speaking of recruiting, one thing I want to talk about too is historically, since Mel Tucker's been the coach at Michigan State, how overall the recruiting has gone up. I mean, despite, the step back we had last year, with the bad season. And then, also too what happened with the COVID year. It does seem like, overall that Mel Tucker's really picked up the recruiting for Michigan State overall. coming in from the last 2 years of Mark D'Antonio, it seems like he's on the up and up.
Yes, there was a graph, I couldn't find it, so I don't have it in front of me. But it showed that essentially that the recruiting floor has gone up for Michigan State, and that they're getting more guys in a certain range level of recruiting. Now, recruiting rankings are never going to be the end all be all. You have to see people play on the field, but it does tell part of the story. And like you said, near the end of Mark D'Antonio's time, it seemed like we were reaching more for guys, and now we have a set. Bill Tucker's coming has a set group of what he wants: height, weight requirements, instead of trying to find diamonds in the rough. Not saying that D'Antonio only found diamonds in the rough, but in the end, there were some reaches. But it's good to see that Mel Tucker's definitely revamped that whole part of the football team. And then, like you mentioned, they brought in new directors of recruiting. They're hiring people every day. They're getting everything ramped back up. And it seems like Mel Tucker's maybe starting to find his stride a little bit, at least we can hope, in terms of recruiting.
Right.
And hopefully if we raise the recruiting, we can get better results on the field.
Right. And then also, for those who may not know, that Mel Tucker does have a specific system in place when it comes to recruiting, and not just high school kids. We're talking about kids he gets from the transfer portal too. He has a very specific thing in place. I recall reading an article maybe a year or two ago, specifically for kids he looks for in the transfer portal, where he has someone literally on the internet as soon as a certain player says that they are transferring, he has a department where that person immediately is on it like that, and they start doing their breakdown of this specific player, for them to go after. And then I know that with them, it doesn't do recruiting, but I do know that he has kids wearing these, I think, like flight jackets or something.
Oh yeah, like little tank tops.
Yeah.
They it tracks the players moving throughout practice and their heart rate, and shows where you're struggling at, what you need help on, your speed, and so it gives all these metrics that can help the players improve themselves. So it kind of looks weird at first. We saw why these guys get these little tank tops on, like these little things around their chest, but when you kind of hear about it, it's pretty cool. The strength and conditioning staff that helps out there, cutting edge, and like I said, hopefully all of this revamping, all this new stuff leads to more victories, because I think of everything we talk about, it's going to be wins and losses with Mel Tucker.
Right. And not only is recruiting when it is all that, but also too, MSU, they're putting those big dollars in to do the upgrades to their facilities too. So overall, when it comes to recruiting, ever since Mel Tucker has been there, he's definitely has raised the program in terms of, okay, we need to have our facilities, looking top notch. We have our recruiting department in place to really go after, these high profile recruits. And even though, these recruits, the high 4-star and 5 stars, even though, they may say no now, at some point Mel Tucker will get these 5-star players. And that'll even open the floodgates up even more.
Well, we can hope.
Well, hopefully
we can hope. But that's the goal.
Right. But at least there's a plan in place.
Yes, there seems to be a plan in place, and I think Michigan State is trying to do a good job of being cutting edge and being that new up and coming program and trying to raise their profile. I know one of the things that have been discussed on the message boards is one of the reasons they had to revamp the recruiting was, it's okay, they all have to go after the 4 or 5-star guys, but you're not always going to get those players.
Right.
And Michigan State right now, their profile is not that of a program that can really lure all those players there. So you have to get your your 3 stars and your in betweens. You have to have really good talent evaluation.
Right.
And the one thing that I've at least read about and seen with this class is the newer guys. They talent evaluation. They're getting guys who kind of under the radar, but then you look at their tapes or the high school films. You talk to the people. Oh, these guys they're going to be up and coming. They're going to be borderline, 3-4 star guys that have athletic profile, and you can build the basis of your program like that. Because if you get those guys, coach them up, and people see that, well, then you can start attracting the 4 or 5 star guys
Right.
that when they come here.
Right. Exactly. So, for all those Spartan fans out there, recruiting's not in the tank. All of those articles you read that may, say that, don't believe the hype, the bad hype at least. In Mel Tucker we trust. Again, we know that we had a bad year last year, but he has a method to his madness. So
It's a piss poor year. A lot of
yes,
a lot of questions.
a lot of questions, but
Some fair, some unfair, but
Right.
questions.
right. So not doom and gloom. Don't let this one bad season get you all out of pocket. I think there is some. I think Mel Tucker will get the program back on track. Now, for this upcoming season, will it be 11-2? Probably not, but
I don't think so.
but I think it'll be a better year. I don't think that it'll go worse. I mean, unless this the football gods just say, hey, this happens, that happens. They go from 5-7 to 2-9 or something like that. But
My heart can handle that. I think we.
Yeah. I think we all would just fall out, and I don't know what we're gonna have.
And we're not getting to predictions yet.
Right.
But I have a theory about what this season's going to look like, and we'll get there. We'll talk about it later on.
Yes, we'll say that for later. But for now, recruiting is a good place. I think, like I said, Tucker is doing his thing. So, but transitioning into, what we may think will happen for the upcoming season, we're going to get into our next segment called Good Sparty, Bad Sparty, where we talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things, in terms of the current state of the program here. So as we talked about, we said recruiting is on the up and up. And with that recruiting, there are some unknown players who are looking to prove themselves. So I think those are the two things going good for Michigan State right now. But on the other hand, as my brother said here, there's a lot of question marks.
A lot of
question marks. I mean, there's more question marks than definite things. So, what do you think are some of the question marks coming into the season here, sir?
I mean, to be quite frank, the entire team is a question mark. Offense, defense, special teams. Last year was kind of a mixed bag. We had people coming back, and they just didn't go our way. We had a lot of injuries. I think I read on defense they had something like 27 different starters on defense due to injuries. I mean, hell, game one, first 2 games of the season last year, we lost important players on all 3 levels of defense. We lost the defensive tackle. Slade was hurt for a while. Darius Snow, who was supposed to be the starting linebacker, he started having a good game, supposed to have a good year. He gets injured going the rest of the year. He's coming back. What will he look like? Hopefully he's all recovered and everything's going well, because he's a very bright young man. I follow him on Twitter. He's a very great person. And then in the back 7, the DBs, we had Xavier Henderson get hurt.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him.
He was going for a good chunk of the beginning part of the year. The defense, quite frankly, looked like garbage. I'm not saying those players are bad players, just they didn't look good.
No,
and
they
then
didn't. They didn't.
Offense was a mixed bag. You know what you're going to get. And then going into this season, we lose 2 guys to the transfer portal that we were counting on, and we don't know we're going to get on offense. We're going to be breaking in a new quarterback. We have one returning running back from last year, Jalen Berger, who started to come on a little bit at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We have a transfer guy, and I think his name is Nathan Carter. Reports are good, but those are just reports. We haven't seen him play yet. Offensive line, we hope they're better because Coach Cap, he has the reputation of being an O-line builder. I know at the end of D'Antonio's tenure, the O-line wasn't where it needed to be at. And it takes time to build those guys up, big bodies. Now they have the numbers. We have people coming back from last year. O-line wasn't great last year. It wasn't completely terrible. It wasn't where we needed to be at.
Yeah.
What are they going to look like?
Right.
The defense has been bad since Tekker's got here. Let's just call it what it is. And I know it looked better at the end of last season. But just because you go from, trash juice to trash doesn't mean you're like great. And again, I'm not talking about the players like just the play. They were not good. And I would think they would say, well, we didn't meet up to our standards.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know we're going to get there. Special teams, outside of the punter, we never knew we were going to get.
That was pretty atrocious.
I think
that was pretty atrocious.
The perfect game to display the Spartan season last year was the Indiana game. Heartbreaking game. We were on vacation.
Oh my God!
Watching this game, we started out just mauling Indiana, and it took a turn. Every flaw that team had last year reared its ugly head that game at one point. Offense came out looking good, scored points. Defense was doing their thing, looking good, stopping them, and then all of a sudden it's punt return for a touchdown, kick return for a touchdown, interception, missed field goal, and then we lose somehow to a team that completed, I think, 7 passes.
Yeah.
You know, that game for me, there's coaching errors. Let's put everybody out there. There were some coaching errors. There's been time clock management issues.
Yeah.
So all those things happened in that one game, and I think it was a microcosm of the season. And all these people have to be better. We can hope they will be better. I think they sometimes the unknown is good. Because I believe if you go back to 2021, a lot of unknowns. We didn't know anything about a lot of these players.
Right. Kenneth Walker specifically. I mean, he came out the gate from the first play.
Yes.
Boom.
And so there's some guys there who got some. One thing, I turn into a positive of this. A lot of young players got burned last year. They got playing time. I know some people say, well, they only got snaps with special teams. They only got 43 snaps, but 43 is better than 0.
Right.
We know something about them, and some of these young guys have higher athletic profiles, like starting safeties, for instance. We're going to have at least projected starting safeties. We have Jaden Mangum, who played a lot last year, true freshman, got a lot of experience.
And his brother transferred to Michigan State.
He's a running back.
Yeah.
He was the big back.
Right.
Because that was, we'll segue real quick, we had a problem in short yardage last year.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know how many times I watch a play, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, we get stuffed. And I'm thinking, why don't we just QB sneak it? But Jay Johnson, shout out to him. He's an interesting person. All right, then the other starting safety is I'm blanking on the name. Spencer. He's supposed to be a big time guy. He got hurt at the beginning of last year. He started coming on, got his feet wet. All right. Hopefully those guys, they got their feet wet. They can come out, do some things, because back 7 on the defense, especially the DBs, it's not been a point of strength.
Right.
It feels like every time you're watching Michigan State on 3rd down, it could be 3rd and 21. Someone's wide open somewhere catching a pass. Like, well, how does that happen?
Right.
And then linebackers, I think out of all of the units on the team, the linebackers probably are the most known commodities, because you have Cal Holiday coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get for the boogeyman. You have Jacoby Windman. Started off as a defensive end, and then transitioned back to being linebacker. He's a good one. Aaron Brule started coming on into the year. So there's some pieces there.
Right.
And then you have the defensive line. I think the most depth on the team is the defensive tackles. You have some guys there. You have Derek Harmon coming back, Maverick Hansen, and then I'm blanking on the other guy's name.
Yeah, you know him better than me because I'm just sitting like a student
He's
listening.
He's a big time. He played for us for a while. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. And then we have the transfer, Tumase Adelaide. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. Big time transfer from
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Projected starter, looked good in the spring game. Then the other side, the defensive end, Chris Bogle started out looking good. Transfer from Florida, got hurt. Then you had Zion Young, was looking good. Then he was involved in that tunnel incident and suspended for the rest of the year. And it's just there's a lot of hope and potential there, but it's just nothing proven.
Right.
And then on offense,
yeah, I was going to ask you. Do you think there are more question marks on the offense or the defense? Or you think it's a balance, or it's equal?
for me personally, I would say there's more question marks on the offense because new quarterback, you're breaking in probably at least 2 new receivers. Offensive line, you don't know. Running backs, you only have one that we've seen, Jalen Berger, and I think he's going to be pretty good. I think on the defense, you've at least seen some of these guys before.
Right.
And so it just becomes a thing where, okay, we've seen it a little bit. There's some hope there on the defense. Right. On offense, we don't know. We're not even for sure who the quarterback's going to be on offense right now.
That is a good point. I know I told you when I went to the spring game, looking at all 3 quarterbacks at the time, Peyton Thorne, Noah Kim, and Caden Hauser, it looked like, at least between Kim and Thorne, they seemed to be pretty much equal, as far as the offensive sets that they ran from what they showed, those that came to the spring game, and even though it's just the spring game, they're not going to show that much. But when they did run some offensive sets, it did look like that Kim was right there with Thorne, which probably led to Thorne transferring. And I know we got a glimpse of Noah Kim in the Ohio State game last year when he was just playing basically garbage time because C.J. Stroud just overall carved up our defense like a nice big fat round turkey.
2 years in a row. Made it look easy.
Yeah, 2 years in a row actually. So, seeing Noah Kim, I think he does have, some it factor to him. But like as you pointed out, Brian, and this to me historically has been an issue with Michigan State is quarterback transition. And I'm going back to when Mark D'Antoni was the head coach because once Michigan State under D'Antonio had that quarterback locked in, they'd be rolling. Connor Cook, he definitely was the man doing his thing back in the heyday.
It's 10 years ago now.
Yeah, it's 10 years.
Living in the past.
Yeah, we are going in the past. But prior to Cook, coming from Maxwell, was it Andrew Maxwell?
Maxwell, we had the transition from Kirk Cousins to...
Oh, yeah, Kirk Cousins to Maxwell, that was kind of yay. But then from Maxwell to Connor Cook was yay. Then from Connor Cook to Tyler O'Connor, I think was whoa. And then, I guess from...
we got Lewerke.
Yeah, Lewerke. He was kind of up and down. And then D'Antonio leaves. And then Tucker comes in. And then under that 1 year, the COVID year, he had Rocky Lombardi, who was not that good outside of that one spectacular game he had at Michigan.
Always hold a special place in the hearts for that one.
Yeah. Then he had Thorne. So, yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how either Noah Kim or Caden Hauser comes in. If I'm a betting man, I guess I would say the starter will be Noah Kim.
I think that's the kind of the consensus, but we have to see.
You're right.
The reports are out there that Caden Hauser's impressed, but so is Noah Kim. Noah Kim is a little bit older.
Right.
For me, some people want to go back and forth about, well, we want this guy, that guy. I really don't care. I just want to win. Whoever wins the job, whoever gives the state the best chance to win, I do not care.
Right. I agree.
I would put a Kim jersey on. I put a Hauser jersey on. They got the other kid, I think it's Sam Levitt.
Oh, yeah.
Put a Sam Levitt jersey on.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a true freshman. I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
winning.
Forgot about Levitt. So
Take the W.
I think another hot topic, which probably is in maybe the bad Sparty category, are the coordinators. Now, Brian, you and I, we've always chopped it up about the coordinators. This goes back to the Antonio years. But the coordinators, well, specifically, the offensive and defensive coordinators. What are your thoughts on them overall up to this point and this upcoming season?
Well, last season really broke me in terms of both coordinators. There were times just, like I said, all right, I'll start from here. The defense has not been good under Mel Tucker, not 1 year. And that's just a statistical fact. They've ranked in the hundreds of a lot of categories, and that's never a good thing. Sorry, this came to mind. The kid's name I was forgetting was Simeon Barrow for defensive line.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay,
He's a really good player. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so Scotty Hazelton and Jay Johnson are in both last year's their contract.
So they're on the clock.
Yes, they both improve it years. It's hard to even say which one will be better because I think on defense they haven't had the athletic body, they haven't had the guys they needed yet.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same breath, they shouldn't look that bad.
Right.
And, I think the defensive line has been okay. We don't get a lot of pass rush like I would hope we would get. But then it's hard to judge the pass rush when it feels like on every play someone's just wide open we pass to. And
yeah.
It's very frustrating because you would see Michigan State win the first two downs and then third down, you're like, oh, God, here it comes, 3rd and 18, up 21-yard pass completion, moving the chains. Someone's wide open. And not to just harp on the defense, the offense has been a mixed bag. I do not know what the game plan is most time on offense. It just seems sometimes it could be a Madden simulator, just hitting the button, ask Madden. And it could be a function of, hey, they don't have the guys they need to run what they want to run. And sometimes I feel like Michigan State was a team of always something. Always something happened. You could have the right play call, then there's an execution error. You could have the wrong play call, then the execution works out well.
Mm-hmm.
You had tight ends missing blocks to make the O-line look worse because, how's guys left? Well, the tight end missed that block. That's why this guy is wide open running and tackling for a loss or getting sacked. Or with the quarterback, all right, offensive line, not protecting him, snaps the ball, he's hit. He gets happy feet, throwing there. And that's understandable. But then sometimes, all right, protection's good. Thorne couldn't find the guy that was open. It'd be perfect play call. Hey, Thorne, if you look to your left, the guy's open over there. And so it wasn't all these things all the time. It was just something every play that went wrong on offense. It led to 3 and outs. And so then you had the games where your defense is actually like getting people off the field. Hey, they're stopping them. Offense is not doing anything. Defense is on there all the time.
So they get tired.
And for as great of defensive mind that Mark D'Antoni was, that was the issue near the end of his regime. the defense would be on the field, and the offense just wouldn't be doing anything.
Right.
And these guys are humans. These aren't. It's not a video game out there. People get tired.
Right.
These are big bodies have to go out there and hit somebody every play. Like it happens. And so, one thing Mel Tucker always talked about at the end of the games, and people get mad about them, was complementary football. Offense, defense, special teams. In Michigan State, in most of the games, they sucked at it.
Yeah.
There was no complementary football. The offense is doing good, defense is doing bad. Defense doing good, offense doing bad. Special teams, outside of punter, that was it.
Right.
I would cringe and line up for a field goal.
Right. 3 games sticking to mind to me from last season, which demonstrated what you were just saying. We played at Washington. As far as how the defense was getting carved up, yeah, I mean, Michael Penix, he looked like John Elway out there. Mm. And then
we got to see him again this year too.
Right. And then Ohio State game, same thing. C.J. Stroud. I'm sure from the moment they stepped in the field, he was just licking his chops like, "Yep, I'm gonna get about 500, 600 yards rushing." And then the Michigan game. Now the Michigan game last year, to me, that was a very winnable game, even though the score didn't reflect that. But to your point, where the offense kept stalling, defense was always on the field. And the defense held Michigan to about maybe 4 or 5 field goals, for the entire game. And the only reason that Michigan scored their touchdowns was because the defense got tired.
And the offense put them in bad.
And the offense put them in bad position.
Now, just talk about the Michigan game. Michigan was a great team the last 2 years, and they beat us. They did, and when we beat them. 2021, they beat us last year. And I like the point you say it was a winnable game because I know the score didn't reflect the defense. That was the best they had played.
Yeah, maybe all season.
And they wasn't even great. It was like, those guys are spilling their guts out there. They're keeping them from putting it on us and putting those touchdowns on us.
Right.
Because if you take those field goals away and put those touchdowns, that score is looking like the Ohio State game.
Right.
And to your point, the offense just and I don't think this is a perfect thing to talk about. Jay Johnson's offense. First half of the game, they had keyed on that Keon Coleman couldn't be guarded by Michigan's defensive backs.
Right.
And they attacked it. It only resulted in, I think, 7 points. But they kept going down and they were moving the ball. Second half comes out, Michigan takes that away. And Michigan State seemed like they never adjusted to it.
Right.
And that's a problem I've seen consistently. Michigan State will be moving the ball first half, doing good things in the first half. Second half comes out, other team adjusts, and Michigan State never has an adjustment.
Right.
The other team adjustment. At least it looks like that to my untrained football eye. And then it becomes Ask a Madden. And it's like, okay. And they stubbornly tried to run the ball last year. I understand why now, just kind of looking back on it, because it was too much to ask Thorne to carry this team the way they needed to be carried.
Right.
That's not the type of quarterback that he is. Now, Thorne can give you some great big plays here and there. He can throw those jump balls and those long passes. He can complete those plays, occasionally. But that's not his bag.
Right.
Now, Thorne with a running game, you saw with Kenneth Walker. If you can lean on the running back, he can make those bomb plays. He can make the right plays that you need that quarterback to make. And maybe it's just me. This is my bright side thing. Maybe that State didn't have that counter punch, didn't have the other pieces they needed to have that counter punch on offense.
Yeah, that could be a factor.
And same thing on defense. But like we said, these guys are on 1-year deals, so we'll see what it's going to look like this year with Jay Johnson and then Scotty Hazelton. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think that there are a lot of love lost in the fans between them. Because there's different points people calling for their heads. And I can say proudly that I've been one of them calling for one of their heads at one point or another, being mad on the message boards. So, but I, removed. I kind of try to see what's going on, but like I said, we'll see this year. This will be the prove it year.
Oh yeah, this is going to be the prove it year for I think about everybody.
Yeah.
Because I think only person that's probably safe, at least in the coaching staff, is the head coach. Because he paying the big bucks for
this year.
But yeah, if MSU does have another down year, yeah, there's going to be heat on MT for sure. There's going to be some.
There'll be
on
more
him.
Deserved heat on Mel Tucker. Because like I said, at the end of the day, no matter what people say, it's going to come out of wins and losses.
Yes, it comes down to wins and losses for sure. So. Hopefully, as we indicated, that I think that MSU will have a better year this year. How much better is remains to be seen. We'll definitely get into what our predictions will be this upcoming season for our. We're saving that for our next podcast, but I think that.
Well, remember the term "better" because better can be subjective.
Yes, it can be. It can be.
There's better and then there's better.
Yes. So, you have any other thoughts about good Sparty, bad Sparty? Another good thing about Sparty is we have Sparty. Despite the down years we always have Sparty running out there. Victory for MSU. All the time.
Yeah,
he's like the best mascot.
In my opinion, yeah, he's the best mascot. Always a bright spot.
Yes. Yes. So, and I think too, I know, going back to the Michigan game for just a quick second here in regards to, what happened, the incident in the tunnel, very unfortunate, of course, but I do think with that, I definitely don't condone what the actions the players did, but I think that this from a media aspect, just from a fan perspective, there was a lot of bloviating, I think, in terms of
for sure,
how. The perception of, for those players. So I think that'll be a motivating factor for them, for this season too. I'm not going to say, we're going to do the revenge tour thing. As we were just talking about, just saying there's a lot of bloviating in regards to what happened in the tunnel at the Michigan game. But, like I said, I think it'll be motivation for them to really, have a better season this year.
Perception of the program.
Right. So things not known about MSU football.
Okay.
As we know, people that live in our area, and for those that don't know, we live, in the Metro Detroit area, hour away from Michigan State, and we're just subjected to just Michigan football all day, every day. I mean, it's just
the blue wall is strong.
The blue wall, yeah. I mean, so it's to the point where people that look at Michigan State football who aren't MSU football fans, or alums, they just look at us as some, second class, downgraded program, that doesn't have any kind of history. So, in regards to MSU football, just wanted to give you guys a couple of facts that you probably didn't know. Michigan State does have national championships under their belt. They've won 6 national titles throughout their illustrious college football history. Now, granted, the last one we won, I believe, was in the late 60s. But, Michigan State, back in that time, they're a very dominant program under Duffy Doherty. So, they have 6 national championships under their belt. And they're one of the first college football programs in the North to recruit black players and have black players play, for their program, from the South. We all know the history, back in the day, with college football programs in the South, the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Georgias and the world or whatever else. They did not recruit black players. But Duffy Daugherty was one of the very few coaches, if not the only one, who went to those areas down south to recruit black players, and he welcomed black players into the program. As a matter of fact, there is a movie being shot right now, about Michigan State football back in the 60s called Black Spartans. It may be on pause now because of the writer's strike, but that is an upcoming film project. So definitely that's a big big time look for MSU as a whole in regards to their football program. So those are just a couple of facts there. Throughout our podcast, we'll definitely shout out some different facts about the program. So it won't it's not just about the blue wall. Because and even with the rivalry with Michigan, even though the perception is that Michigan historically has whooped up on Spartan football, that's really not the case. Michigan State has been very competitive against Michigan. I mean, recently, I think in the past, maybe 20 years?
20 years, we won 15.
Yeah, we won 15 games the past 20 years. So that right there tells you that Michigan State is right there with Michigan. So it's not just some runaway.
We're not there right now. They're definitely the premier team in the Big Ten.
It goes through
cyclical.
Yeah, it's a cyclical thing, but it's not just a runaway freight train that the perception may be. So that's another just historical tidbit there. So other than that, you want to add anything to the cause?
No, that's it. It's a good rundown. Then get our feet wet. We'll get in more groove if things going on. Get our flow going, and I like where we started off right now.
Yes, I think for our debut show here, I think we got together pretty nicely here. So for our next one, we'll definitely get more into the program here. We'll do our predictions for the upcoming season. We'll talk about what we think, get a better perspective here once, the fall camp starts and we start hearing, things coming out of that. And then, again, we'll give our predictions. And, once the season starts, we're really going to hit you guys, with our thoughts about each game and just continue this train rolling.
Yeah, we'll try to provide level-headed opinions. So we'll probably film it after, several days after the game. Because me, I'm too emotional the day of the game. I'm a wreck. My opinions might not really reflect how I feel about the program at the moment. So maybe we'll throw some instant reactions in there occasionally so you can see that side of it. But definitely try to be more level-headed about it.
Right. Because
we are fans. Fans show up a fanatic, and I'm definitely one of them.
Oh yeah. I tell my brother he should be a football coach himself because he really studies the games. I mean, he rewatches them like a coach watching film, and then he'll give me a call and say, hey, I saw this, I saw that. I think, should have done that. Why did he didn't do that?
Yeah, I'm a good Monday morning quarterback.
So, yeah, we definitely have a lot in store for you guys, as, MSU football fans. So, hope you guys are entertained. Again, with the Spartan brothers here, Mr. Brian, Mr. Ken.
Make sure you give us feedback so we can always improve what we got going on. That's a big thing.
Yes. We definitely want to improve each show, with you guys' feedback. So, with that, go green.
Go white.
All right, we out of here.